Potassium 40. You snoozed your morning alarm and woke up a bit late. To make it to work on time, you skipped breakfast and quickly ate a banana before heading out. Without realizing it, you just consumed a radioactive material. Yes, straight from the banana itself. Don't panic, because potassium 40 is one of the safest radioactive elements you'll ever encounter compared to the others. This variant of potassium exists naturally in most food, and even your own body. The average human body contains roughly 16 milligrams of radioactive potassium 40. The radiation dose from eating potassium-rich foods is negligible compared to the dose of radiation you're exposed to during a flight. Carbon-14. Every breath you take contains carbon-14, and every plant on Earth absorbs it constantly. This one forms in the upper atmosphere when deadly cosmic rays collide with certain gases. Once formed, it secretly mixes into carbon dioxide and gets absorbed by plants so that it can give you those nice radioactive fruits. As an apex predator at the top of the food chain, when you eat animals that ate plants or plants themselves, carbon-14 enters your body. While you're alive, you constantly replace carbon-14 as your cells renew themselves. But the moment you die, that replacement stops and carbon-14 begins its slow decay. Centuries later, an archaeologist stands over your remains and calculates the amount of carbon-14 decay. This allows them to estimate your date of death with reasonable accuracy. Iodine-131. If you watch the popular Chernobyl series, you might remember officials handing out iodine pills to the public. The goal was simple: to prevent the body from absorbing dangerous amounts of radioactive iodine-131. Surprisingly, that same substance has life-saving uses today. Your thyroid gland naturally utilizes iodine to produce hormones that regulate bodily functions. When doctors administer this substance, it travels directly to the thyroid, where radiation destroys malfunctioning cells. However, it gained infamy during nuclear accidents. Both Chernobyl and Fukushima released significant amounts of it into the environment. Immediate exposure can cause severe thyroid damage, especially in children. Tritium. Tritium is hydrogen's radioactive cousin that makes things glow in the dark. You've probably seen tritium without knowing it. Those green exit signs that never need batteries, and the watches with glowing hands. When tritium decays, it excites phosphor materials around it, creating a soft green glow lasting years without external power. The military also uses tritium in some nuclear weapons to boost explosive power dramatically. Radon. Radon is the silent killer lurking in your home right now. This colorless, odorless radioactive gas seeps up from underground rock layers, accumulating in homes without anyone noticing. It's the second leading cause of lung cancer after smoking, responsible for thousands of deaths annually in the US alone. Radon forms when some radioactive elements in soil slowly decay. As a gas, it rises through ground cracks and building foundation gaps, concentrating in enclosed spaces. When you breathe it, radioactive particles lodge in lung tissue. Over years, these particles continuously emit radiation that damages DNA, eventually triggering cancer. That's why you should regularly ventilate your home. Thorium. Thorium might be the future of nuclear energy, named after the Norse god Thor. This silvery metal could theoretically power civilization more safely than others. It produces less long-lived radioactive waste than fancy uranium reactors. Moreover, if something goes wrong, the reaction cycle stops naturally because thorium fuel cannot sustain a chain reaction on its own. However, thorium reactors are more expensive to build, and mining and processing thorium costs more than uranium currently. Radium. Radium is a naturally occurring radioactive metal found in uranium-rich rocks. It was even added to toothpaste and cosmetics in the past, though its use is now heavily restricted due to safety concerns. Let's take a little trip back in time. In the early 1900s, some companies mixed radium with phosphor to create glow-in-the-dark paint for watch dials. In the production lines, the young workers known as the Radium Girls painted these dials, often licking their brushes to maintain fine points. These people ingested radium daily without knowing, and because radium insidiously behaves like calcium, their bodies incorporated it into bone tissue. Many later died from bone cancer and radiation poisoning. Uranium. This dense metal powers nuclear reactors and exists in some nuclear weapons. In nature, uranium-238 is relatively abundant, while uranium-235 exists in much smaller quantities. When 235 variant is excited, it splits apart, releasing enormous energy and triggering additional splits in a chain reaction. If this energy is released slowly under controlled conditions, it can be used in a power plant. If released uncontrollably, it becomes a nuclear explosion used in weapons. Just a single uranium pellet produces as much energy as a ton of coal. Polonium. This extraordinarily radioactive metal gained notoriety in 2006 when a Russian dissident died under suspicious circumstances from polonium-210 poisoning. What makes polonium deadly is its alpha radiation. These particles cannot penetrate intact human skin, but ingested polonium delivers devastating internal radiation directly to organs. A fatal dose is smaller than even a grain of salt. Technetium. Technetium does not occur naturally in significant amounts. It appears as a byproduct in nuclear reactors and decays very rapidly. As it decays, it releases gamma rays. As dangerous as it is, this property is used in certain medical applications. These gamma rays pass through the body and produce detailed images of organs and blood flow during a special type of medical scan. Promethium. It doesn't naturally exist on Earth in any significant amount, so it's entirely synthetic. All promethium variants are radioactive, but promethium-147 is the one most commonly used. Like tritium, promethium's decay produces light when mixed with phosphors, creating illumination without batteries. Some spacecraft use promethium in atomic batteries, where decay heat generates electrical power, but its high radioactivity limits its usefulness and requires strict safety protocols. Americium. This synthetic radioactive element is the heart of most smoke detectors. It constantly emits low-energy alpha particles that ionize air molecules, generating a small electrical current. When the smoke enters the detector, it disrupts this current, triggering the alarm. But don't worry, this radiation risk is negligible. The particles can't penetrate even the detector's casing. Californium. Californium is one of the rarest and most expensive materials on Earth. Named after California where it was discovered, this synthetic element costs nearly $27 million per gram. Only a few locations worldwide can produce it in tiny quantities. This element is useful for getting detailed images of materials that usual X-rays can't penetrate. Aircraft manufacturers use it to inspect critical components for hidden defects to lower the risk of accidents. The intense radioactivity makes californium extraordinarily dangerous. A fatal dose is only a few micrograms. Cesium-137. This one is Chernobyl's legacy. When a reactor exploded in 1986, it released massive amounts of cesium that contaminated vast areas. Those areas will stay dangerous for generations because it takes about 30 years for its radioactivity to drop by half. In industry, cesium-137 serves useful purposes in gauges that measure material thickness and density. It is so radioactive that it can damage the glass containers holding it, making long-term storage difficult. And it has one very bad habit. It mimics potassium, meaning the body readily absorbs it and distributes it throughout tissues. If you liked this video, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.